After 4 races, after 4 tumultuous and trembling events, who next? Just who next? We have had, ladies and gentlemen, 4 different race winners in the first 4 races of season 4 here in Formula Premiere. And as the circus turns to the Mexico City Grand Prix, we await to ignite and await what is going to be the latest sensation to be told. Welcome one and all to the Mexico City Grand Prix. It is my pleasure to be bringing you round 5 of season 4 here in Formula Premiere. I am Ben McCarthy, your commentator, and this siesta of sensation and supreme flavour looks to journey through our conscious. So then, we have joined just in time for the start of Q1. 16 drivers, a lot better of a turnout than we were expecting, including, I believe, 3 Tier AM drivers who have turned to the ultimate sovereign league here in this racing establishment. In this 18-minute qualifying format, we have the drivers out on track, and we have Snakes, who scored a podium in his opening race in Formula Premiere, spinning out on his outlap. So that will be a bit of a scare to him, but here comes Zerky then in the Haas, who won on debut last week at the US Grand Prix. As we cross the border and into Mexico, can he reclaim the upper hand? He rages down the start finish straight there. Is that Hydrant? No, it's not Hydrant, it's Revokes down the start finish straight, spinning, coming out of the pits, as Zerky already invalidating his lap through cutting the corner in the first couple of apexes, but Revokes lighting the rear tyres up, going down the long start finish straight. He goes off road to allow the murk of ports through, but my oh my, that was a real scary moment for Revokes. Let's turn our attention to Dumbest Basket then in the Alpine. For a team that have had a bit of a mixed bag so far this season, have scored points and have scored points in three of the first 4 races, but a dismal US Grand Prix last time out has really curtailed their progress this season. But in the hands of Dumbest Basket, could they be nearing the front? Slick does go quickest then, our championship lead. We will be mentioning him later on, but the Aston Martin driver goes quickest on a 1:16.534. Let's see if that time can be eclipsed through this qualifying section. Let's see if Dumbest Basket can eclipse that time, and he won't. He is just over, well, nearly 1.5 seconds down on Slick after his first run in this qualifying session. Ports, another driver joining us for the first time here in the top tier of Formula Premiere, is out on track on the intermediate tyres, as well as CRR, TX, SSA, Hydrants also on the intermediate tyres, heading out for a push lap, and we will ride on board with him then as he rages down the start finish straight, already north of 200 miles per hour as he rages on towards the first corner of the track. We have yellow flags out ahead. I think that is a Williams spinning out, but Hydrant turning through each and every one of these 3 apexes through the immediate and technical section of the track, then heading towards turn 4. The Ese del Lago, where we saw Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton duelling in 2017, a mesmeric battle between the two, one of their finest. But Hydrant, with a smooth ride through that complex, is awaiting the S's section now, where we have seen many crashes through the years, as Axel now retiring from the session. But on earth has gone on there for Axel? Well, it seems like we are going to find out, and he has found the wall through the stadium section. That is a extremely rare place to find the barriers, but the Alfa Romeo driver, who in qualifying this season has qualified inside the top 10, who has qualified in the top 10 in, well, 3 of the first 4 races, is not going to be qualifying inside the top 10 today as Hydrant goes P7. You can see Zerke cutting the track so that he can either... No, he's going to be coming into the pits. The battery is pretty much drained out for the Haas, so he will be coming into the pits. Little Gupta then, our 3-time champion, I was about to say, is on a lap that he has invalidated that time. And, well, he has less than half the battery left, so I'd be surprised if he was to go again. But I am proven wrong then as he heads round the Peraltada. He is on his way, so he will have tyres that are a little older. He will have a battery that is a little flatter. So the McLaren driver is up against it as not slick. It seems like then Gatekeeper has gone for a spin while he's been out on track as Lucas draws within fractions of Slick's provisional pole time. Lucas, who won his first race here in Formula Premier 2 weeks ago at the Canadian Grand Prix, is a mere half a tenth away from his very first pole position. We still have 11 minutes to go, of course, but the Ferrari is showing speed and is showing speed early on. Gupta then heading through the S's section where we've seen Alex Albon and Charles Leclerc crash in years gone by, as it seems like Gatekeeper again going for another spin through the S's. He's managed to avoid the wall, but Gupta showing a very, very strong middle sector. The McLaren driver in a shade of orange looking to come alive, but he buries his attempt as he taps the wall going into the stadium section. The rear got away from him, it was dancing away, and it overtook Gupta and his ambitions on this lap. It seems like the tyres were getting a little bit too hot and just too hot to handle, so the McLaren driver will be coming into the pits and will continue in thirst for his first time in qualifying. Tablet Storm, his teammate, also on a push lap, but is not really pressuring the top times at the moment. Heading through the Forest-Sol right now, the McLaren driver will arrive to the Peraltada, the refined Peraltada, as Formula 1 journeyed back to Mexico in 2015. It was a slight variation from the mighty corner we had seen up until 1992, but Tablet Storm then progressing up to the second row. He's just over half a tenth behind Slick's provisional pole time. And talking of Slick, he is now on a push lap, looking to raise the bar, looking in search for more lap time and to solidify his place at the very front. The championship leader, who has 2 pole positions to his name already this season, gets a mighty slipstream from the McLaren ahead and has found nearly 6/100ths through the first sector. 3 podiums have been scored by Slick so far this season. It could have been 4, but a horrid collision at the Canadian Grand Prix thwarted and curtailed what was possibly a pursuit of race victory. He is 6 points ahead of Lucas in this championship battle at the moment. He is 5/100ths ahead of him on the road, but he is looking to enlarge that gap. A glint of green may just be arising here in Mexico City. Slick, already top of the timings, looks to solidify his place, and he does just that. It's a 1:16 flat. It's over half a second clear. And the majesty of Slick's mighty ability is starting to burn bright on this Mexico City stage. Lucas will hope to respond to his currently on an outlap. De Grosset in the Williams, who is P3 on the road, will look to improve his time. And for De Grosset, who has qualified a best of P5 this season, that coming at the opening round in Australia, he is looking to, well, better that, and he's doing that so far. He's provisionally third here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, but he is just shy of 8/10 down on Slick's time, but he's found an improvement through the first third of the lap. Can he find more as he waltzes through the snake section of this circuit? The front and the rears crying out loud, but the Williams driver handling it admirably. He's found just under 1/10.5 through the first 2/3 of this lap, entering the Foro Sol. The front end turned in as he arrives to the final 2 corners of this track. As Zerke, by 14 thousandths of a second, displaces Slick. De Grosset finds an improvement, but it's not enough to jump Lucas. So the Haas of Zerke, who is now at long last, set a time on the dry compound tyres, has claimed provisional pole from Slick by the barest of margins. Lucas then, who is now shuffled down into P3, is looking for an improvement. He hasn't found it through the first sector, but as the pulse really starts to rise through this section of the track, he runs off the road, so he curtails his effort. Does Lucas as Gupta comes within 15 1/1000ths of pole position and is 1/1000th behind Slick. The battles are being drawn. The efforts are being found, and we just may have the tightest and the most tumultuous battle on our hands here in Mexico City. The top 3 separated by 15 1/1000ths of a second. As you can see, there's Zerke overtaking the Alpha Tauri. The Alpha Tauri, I believe, of Snakes going into the pit lane, but he has shuffled Slick down into second. He has shuffled Gupta down into third. Hydrant is now fourth. What an epic qualifying we've invested our interest in so far, and there is more to be found as Okedre out on track at the moment, but he's not on a push lap. Revokes though is, and he's heading down the start for the end of the start finish straight now, heading into the first 3 corners, riding the curbs neatly. But has it found him enough time as he opens DRS and charges towards turn 4? This a complex of track where Valtteri Bottas and Kimi Räikkönen clashed in 2015. But as Revoked is the sole driver heading through that section, and of course is not in the race just yet. He gets through there cleanly. Now heading into the snake section. This has been a real test of man and machine to keep it on the road and to find time, but Revoked running off road and ending any hope that this would be his first representative effort in this qualifying session. So the S's has claimed another victim as Leihman James is heading through the Peraltada now to set his latest efforts, which is... oh no, he's on a push lap now then. What about Dennis Baskets, who has found some time? He's found an improvement through the first third of the lap. Dennis Basket then, who is just inside the top 10 and is currently out qualifying his teammate Okedre. Just wants to ebb into that top 10 further, but is unable to do so as the S's section catches out yet another driver. Let's cut then to Leihman James, who has found nearly 1/10.5 through the first sector. Let's ride on board then with the Williams. The front end nicely hooked up then for turn 6 and 7 as the S's section awaits. Flicks the car in, the rear end responds as he puts down the power. He rides the curves delicately. He gets to the end of the S's section, does not run off-road, and he has found nearly 2/10 on this attempt. Gets it turned into the staging section and into the Foro Sol for Leihman James in the Williams. He sees his teammates on the third row for the moment and he slots in just behind. He finds over 1/4 of a second as the Williams, and up into P7 as CRR TX SSA, I'm going to have to narrow that down, heads out on track with just over 2.5 minutes left. This session is boiling into a thrilling ending. Who will be on pole? Will it be Zerke for the second consecutive race? Will it be Slick for the third time this season? Will it be Gupta for the second time this season? Or will it be Hydrant for the first time in Season 4? We will have those questions answered very, very shortly, but let's ride on board, or let's follow the progress of the Merc of CRR, who is backing off then off of the exit of turn 3. He erases that effort. Here comes Zerke then, our provisional pole sitter. He rounds the Peraltada and he will get underway for his final push lap in qualifying. Opening DRS down the long start-finish straight. It will be imperative to get a good start come the race due to the slipstream effect that will come about. A rare chance of an overtake may be found through turn 1, and Zerke, although pole position isn't the healthiest place to start here in Mexico City, Zerke will most certainly want a second consecutive pole here in Formula Premier as he finds a 10th.5 through the first sector. The leaderboard is lighting up in the Haas's favour. He was the benchmark in Austin last week. He is serving as the benchmark as qualifying enters. It's late moments here in Mexico City, and it looks like he's just going to escape from the wake of snakes, or Burton, in fact. Just getting out of the way, but he is encountered, it seems, I want to say Hydrant. It may just be revoked, but heading through the staging section now, a little bit of understeer here, a little bit of oversteer there, and this final sector is not going swimmingly for Zerke, but he finds just about enough time to extend his margin. But what about Slick? What about Gupta? What about Hydrant and Lucas? Lucas has had his lap invalidated. He is not going to be improving in this session unless he reaches to the line in time. Here comes Hydrant then. He's not been on pole so far this season, and he draws within fractions of Zerke. 47/1000ths of a second was the margin. And Hydrant was on the wrong side of it, and Gupta invalidating his lap time as well. He is not going to be bettering his starting place of P4. So it is left then to Slick, the championship leader, who has a new nemesis, and a nemesis driving for the Haas team. He looks to score his third pole position of Season 4 here in Formula Premier. He rides the curbs through the Foro Sol. He goes through the Peraltada. He is achieving perfection if he can cross the line, and he does it! He does it! He achieves perfection. It was there, laying before him, and with both hands he seized it. What a lap! What a lap from Slick. Zerke came close. It looked like he had the upper hand, but Slick stole it from him at the last gasp moment. Kerdre unable to improve his starting place and qualifies just a couple of places behind. His teammate Snakes then qualifying on the third row improves to 5th place at the very last moment. A stellar improvement there from the AlphaTauri, who wants to build upon his debut race after finishing in 2nd last week at the Circuit of the Americas. But my oh my, the measure of a champion is ready to be defined, and Slick is defining that right now. Zerke came so close to claiming pole position, but Slick at the very end just about had it. For the third time this season, he will start a Grand Prix in Formula Premier from pole. It is then Slick who is on pole position by 78 one-thousandths of a second. Like I said, the battles are being drawn. The rivalries are ready to be unearthed. Here in Formula Premiere, we may just have the most epic installment yet. The top four separated by less than 0.2 of a second. If this is to be indicative of the Grand Prix ahead, then we are in for a treat. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. This is only just the beginning. Right then, someone has readied up, so we will be heading straight into the action. I imagine to some people's, let's say, exasperation. So yeah, we are now underway on the formation lap here in Mexico City. Slick leads on the formation lap. Let's have a look at the starting tyres from these drivers. Oh my! The front row start from the hards compound tyres, Hydrants from the softs, Gupta from the hards, Snakes from the softs, Lucas and De Grotte both from the hards, CRR on the mediums. Then we have Learman James, Tabulet Storm, Dumbest Basket, Kerdre, Gatekeeper Ports, Burton, Axel and Revokes rounding out the grid. The majority of them on the hard. Burton though, the exception on the softs. Tessa. CAR is Tessa, right. That makes sense now. So then, it seems like we will soon be underway here at the Mexico City Grand Prix. We know that the long run towards turn 1 means that Slick and Zerky could both be vulnerable to the charging pack behind. Do not go anywhere. For all the promise and temptation comes ignition. The latest instalment could be the most thrilling as we await round 5 of season 4 here in Formula Premiere. 36 laps ahead of us and we dive into the unknown. We await its depths, we await its tail, and we thirst for its consequence. Never before has Formula Premier been soaked in so much intrigue. And we go racing once more, and it's a great start from Zerky. Immediately, he displaces Slick. Hydrant is waiting in the wings. He's going to get a slipstream from the front too. He's going to try and pull to the inside. Are they going to run 3 wide? The top 3 starting on the grid. Snakes is already up to second. The AlphaTauri charging around the outside. It's Hydrant to the inside. The AlphaTauri storming up into second. It's a beautiful move from Snakes. Hydrant down to third. Slick down to fourth. We have yellow flags out on track. I think De Grotte has spun out through the first couple of corners, but it's Zerky in the lead from Snakes. Hydrant third, Slick fourth, Gupta is fifth. And he almost taps there, the Aston Martin. It seems like the drivers one by one through these corners. As you can see, Burton having a look at Dumbest Basket, the Alpine, it seems, gaining a place at the very start, but it is De Grotte at the back of the pack. All Zerky through the S's section is now coming under fierce pressure from Snakes. The top 2 from the last week's race in the US. They're going side by side for the lead on lap 1 of the Mexico City Grand Prix, and the AlphaTauri seizes it. Blink and you miss it here in Mexico City. We've had a different pole sitter to a different leader through the first corner and a different leader at the end of lap 1, but Snakes getting a poor exit through the Perotada to allow Zerky to close in on him down this long back straight for the slipstream. Really coming about. No DRS, of course, on lap 2 of this race, but the Haas emerges and nudges ever closer to the AlphaTauri, but is not close enough into turn 1 to make an impression. So Snakes leads from Zerky in the rear end of Zerky's Haas, getting away from him slightly. Hydrant third, Slick fourth, you have Gupta fifth. Learmans James in sixth, ahead of CAR on the Tessa, sorry, I'm going to have to get used to that name. Port's 8th, Dumbest Basket 9th, and Burton 10th. We ride on board then with the AlphaTauri, who is scavenging that 9th place, trying to prize it off the Alpine, but through this twisty section, his efforts are going to be thwarted as that's Hydrant from the podium places. With promise emerges dejection. With anticipation yields heartbreak. As he clips the wall, he sees a dream fracture. Crashing out of third place, not out of this race, but out of contention. My oh my, it's a slippery slope from here for the Red Bull Hydrant. Well, he's going to stay out, despite a damaged front wing. You can see the right-hand end plate has broken off. And with the amount of downforce you need around this track, that really could hinder his performance. But he's going to battle on nonetheless, racing on towards turn 1, trying to pass Axel. This is not able to do so just yet. You can see the big winners and losers from this start, the biggest being Snakes, but you've also got to say Zerky, he's got past Slick. As you can see there, Tessa and Learman James igniting in battle with the Mercedes prevailing and now ahead. But Zerky's got to be a big winner from this start. He's got ahead of Slick, who also started on the hard compound tyres, and the only driver ahead of him is a driver on the softs. So you can really start to see the Haas improvising his presence on the outcome of this race as Lucas and Burton, they were initially in battle, but the Ferrari has ended that by passing the AlphaTauri through the S's section. We also have Gatekeeper ahead of a Curdray going into the Forest Soul. Seems like it will remain that way for the moment, but now Tessa is closing in on Gupta on the medium compound tyres, which are really starting to come alive. Gupta struggling on the hards and is prey to the Mercedes' awesome straight line speed with DRS. He easily passes the McLaren and promotes himself up into the top 4 now. Are there any other battles transpiring out on track? Gatekeeper holds an interest of 11th place. Hydrant still down in 14th place. Has to stare down the rear wing of Axel's Alfa Romeo as Revokes then publishes the quickest lap we have seen so far this race. Of course, on newer tyres, having pitted in the first couple of laps. but Zerky still lurking at around 0.6 of a second behind Snakes, who spins in a heartbeat, in a gasp. The Alpha Tauri, who was dancing and dazzling around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, is drowning in the depths of despair. Its circuit bites, and it bites again, swallowing Snakes in the jaws of desolation. And then it seems like he hits the wall going into the pit lane and earns himself a 5-second time penalty. Oh, it's got away. It's tragically got away there from Snakes, who was leading and is now going to be dropping down, probably into 15th place. His teammate Burton is now out on track and is in 8th place, having started from 15th, so it's been great progress so far from Burton. Whether she can maintain this improvement, we will have to see, but Zerky now takes over in the lead of this race. He led for the majority of the first lap, having started from the front row. He has the race lead back, and Slick, our pole sitter from this race, is having to settle provisionally for 2nd place. We have Gupta about 0.6 of a second behind Tessa. And Slick now earning himself a 3-second time penalty on lap 5 for track limit violations. And after starting from pole, it doesn't seem like he's able to translate that into race sovereignty. Burton tapping the wall through the Peraltada and running so wide. That allows Lucas an interest. He will have DRS down this long start-finish straight. The AlphaTauri will too, but the Ferrari is closing in and closing in, looking to pounce going into turn 1, but holds back. Oh, but then he taps the AlphaTauri. Oh, and Burton just about keeping it on the road. It could have been a spin there for the AlphaTauri, but she manages to keep it together and hold on to 8th place. Going into turn 4, the Ferrari still running behind the AlphaTauri. Having started from 6th place, this race has not gone according to plan for Lucas, who started this event 6 points behind Slick in the championship. It seems like that deficit is growing ever larger through each and every passing corner, as Ports now earns himself a time penalty for the same offences that Slick caused as an example. But on lap 6, shortly turning into lap 7, it is Zerky who is in the ascendancy. It is Slick in 2nd, it's Tessa in 3rd, Gupta still 4th, and Leoman James in 5th place. Burton, though, with a much stronger exit through the Peraltada, is now trying to impose herself on Dummy's basket ahead. The AlphaTauri closing in through each and every passing meter. Can she launch an attack going into turn 1? No. But the exit off of turn 3 here could be a mighty one for Burton. As she lays the power down, the Alpine rear wing gets larger and larger and larger. She searches for the inside line. They're running fractionally close to one another, but the AlphaTauri braking later down the inside. Which kind of response does the Alpine have? Well, he forces Burton off-road, and the AlphaTauri seizes 7th place. Is she going to have to give that place back, though? Dummy's basket is now running in the clutches of Lucas behind. This could be an awkward situation for Burton. Oh, and the Alpine losing the rear of the car. That gives Lucas an interest through the S's section. Yellow flags out on track. Oh, the Ferrari then in a heartbeat dancing with the rear of the car and almost launches that chassis into the wall. So Burton has not earned herself a time penalty despite running off-road. The stewards may have a look at that, but provisionally they do not. So it is Burton in 7th place, ahead of Davis Baskets, ahead of Lucas. The Alpino struggling through the penultimate corner. We have yellow flags out on track. It's Revokes. It is Revokes who again experiences trouble during a race. Again, well, he may not have found the wall, but after a promising first race of the season for the Red Bull driver, His season is dissolving into desolation. Lucas, though, trying to hurry the Alpine ahead. Dumbest basket really looks vulnerable to the Ferrari off the exit of turn 3. The rear wing opening with the use of DRS for the Alpine is keeping the Ferrari driver at bay, and it is as you were between these three. It's Burton ahead of Dumbest Basket, ahead of Lucas, but is that about to change? Or the Ferrari is showing more confidence. He's exuding it through each and every apex, but still, it is the sickening sight of blue ahead, which is giving off exasperation. Then Lucas dancing with the rear of the car. You see the temperatures really starting to get to a boiling point, but what an exit there from Lucas, launching an attack, going into the stadium section. He searches for the inside line, and he seizes 8th place. Now that is blistering, truly blistering from Lucas. A bliss of bravado, and delivered on this blistering stage. Then turns into 7th as Burton pits, but Dumbest Basket now has to contend with his teammate behind. A Kurdrae is closing in down this start-finish straight. Is he able to make a move? No, Dumbest Basket trying to impose himself on Lucas, but that comes to no avail. But this could be a mighty exit here from a Kurdrae. It's blue on blue, Alpine on Alpine. Both will have DRS down this straight. Who is going to emerge ahead? It's a Kurdrae around the outside. Dumbest Basket, though, on the brakes, trying to respond. Around the outside goes a Kurdrae, and he steals it from under the nose of his teammates. But here comes Axel. He's passed one Alpine, and he passes 2, or does he? Because a Kurdrae around the outside has the perfect response. It was blue on blue. It was Alfa Romeo on a pair of level. But it is a Kurdrae who has the final say in this battle, and emerges ahead as gatekeeper now, out of this race. He becomes the first retirement of this race as the safety car is now deployed. Surkey and Slick past the pit lane entrance. Tessa didn't, so she is going to come into the pits and get rid of her medium compound tyres. So the first safety car of this race, and this is going to throw a spanner into the works. Who's going to take the chance to pit? Portaz. Dumbest Basket will to get rid of his hard compound tyres. Snakes, what's he going to do? We know he pitted after spinning out from the lead. He is going to get rid of these medium compound tyres. Behind him, Burton, Tablet Storm, Hydrants and Revokes. But my oh my. A moment there for Grace Warrior, and this race, the landscape of this race may just be changing. Where did Tessa come out? In 9th. But on younger, fresher tyres. Could she be about to enlighten her presence upon her rivals in the quest for race victory? Lap 10 of 36, and this race may just be exploding into life. Zerky and Slick, are they going to come into the pits at the conclusion of this lap? Let's see, let's ride on board then with Zerky. Does he stay or does he go? No, that's not good now. But he is going to come into the pits. Is Slick going to come into the pits? He's thinking about it. He really is thinking about it. But he too will come into the pits to get rid of his hard compound tyres. What does Zerky switch to then? He's going to get rid of his hard compound tyres. He switches to the mediums. Slick follows in the same vein as Snakes now. Earns himself a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Well, that's a poor moment there for Snakes. And this race just gets even worse for him. But Zerky coming out of the pits in 2nd place, ahead of a Kurdrae and Axel. But Slick comes out behind both the Alpine and the Alfa Romeo. So this period of the race has not fared well for our pole sitter. Remember, he has a time penalty to be served. He didn't serve that in the pit lane, but he's lost track position to a Kurdrae and Excel ahead. My oh my, the Aston Martin has just taken a major hit to his race. We we are under our first safety car period in this race, with Leia James in the lead. After starting from P9, Zerky is second, ahead of Akerdre, Excel and Slick. Zerky and Slick are the lead drivers who have pitted, but the omens are looking oh so good for the Haas driver now, who is poised to make it 2 consecutive wins in his first 2 races here in Formula Premiere, which was not even achieved by the great Gupta. The only man that has won his first 2 races in Formula Premiere, Matt Zuvo. We miss you, Matt, we really do. But as we start lap 12 then, we have a Williams out in the lead. And the last time a Williams driver led the Mexican Grand Prix, I know it's called the Mexico City Grand Prix, but the last time a Williams driver led the Mexico City Grand Prix, Nigel Mansell in 1992. I wasn't alive then, so I can't say to you, oh yeah, I remember that moment. We have Gupta and Tessa now. It seems swapping positions, but Gupta in 6th, Tessa in 7th. But we are under safety car conditions here in Mexico City. If you've just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, where on earth have you been? Secondly, you have missed a mesmeric start to this Mexico City Grand Prix. Zerky looks in pole position to become the first multi-race winner of this season. We've had 4 different race winners in the first 4 races, but this poignant shade of white is starting to burn bright in this season. We are still under safety car conditions. It seems like we will remain under safety car conditions just for a little bit longer. So that means we will have the Williams driver of Leia James leading for yet another lap. So let's have a look at the fortunes of the drivers so far in this race. I've got to say, Zerky has been a big winner from this race. Although he started from 2nd and remains 2nd, he is in effect in the race lead. He's the lead driver who has made a pit stop and has shown terrific speed through this race thus far. Axel, after starting from 16th place, is running inside the top 4, but remember, he has not pitted yet. Slick, it's not fared too well for him after starting from pole. Lucas has not had the greatest race either, but after pitting under the... Oh, did he put under the safety car conditions? Yes, he did. So this safety car period could be quite kind to the Ferrari driver. Hydrant has not had the greatest race, let's be honest, nor has Snake, who was leading provisionally, spun out of the lead, has a drive-through penalty to be served as well. So after running out in the lead, he's going to probably have to settle for the very back of the pack in this race. Actually, no, he's not, because Revokes is nearly a lap behind. And ever since the Australian Grand Prix, it has been a miserable run for Revokes. He's finished outside the top 10 in each of the 3 races, in each of the last 3 races, Miami, Canada and the US. This America's tour for Revokes has been one to forget. And soon we will be able to forget this safety car period as the green flag is ready to come out. It seems like Revokes is going to remain in between Leierman and Zerky, so the Williams is going to have a bit of a head start on Zerky at this safety car restart. That would be a breath of huge relief for the Williams driver. Axel will want to contend with Zerky, although he has not made a stop yet. That's Zerky hitting Revokes. Does he have front wing damage? But we're back underway here at the Mexico City Grand Prix. Yellow flags out through the final sector. Slick immediately displaces Axel down the long start-finish straight. He gets ahead of him. The Alfa Romeo fighting back side by side down the start-finish straight here in Mexico City. Axel powering ahead, but round the outside goes Slick, and that is truly sublime from the Aston Martin. as Excel dropping the rear of the car and dropping a handful of places. He was battling away with the Aston Martin, but that battle is a distant memory now, as we have then Dumbest Basket to the inside, trying to defend from Burton, but around the outside she goes. Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful from Burton. And Dumbest Basket, does he have a problem or something? Because he's dropped behind Hydrants as well. Explosive action in this safety car restart, but Zerke has caught onto the rear of the Williams. It's going to be a change of lead surely once more in this Mexico City Grand Prix, because going into the Tate Stadium section, the Haas running off-road around the outside, trying to pass the Williams. He does run ahead, and he does pass. So Zerke then back up into the race lead as he passes the Williams of Lehrman James in just under the space of a lap. And here comes Slick through the Peraltada, the ultimate switchback, running side by side with the Alpine and eclipsing him. So it's into the podium positions now for Slick for Kurdzre, trying to find a response. Gupta's joining this battle as well. Could it be 3 wide going into turn 1? No, Slick getting ahead of the Kurdzre, and the McLaren's going to pass the Alpine as well. So it's Gupta now up into 4th. It's going to be a net P3. So this safety car restart has been so strong here from the McLaren driver. Kurdzre weaving this way and that way. Lucas diving to the inside. He is incredibly late on the brakes, but he passes the Alpine. Super sharp overtake there from Lucas, who is coming alive in this stage of the race. Tessa now has an interest in taking that place from a Kurdzre. The battle for 6th and 7th, it's going to continue on towards the S's, and the silver arrow shimmers around the outside and up into 6th place. A Kurdzre losing a handful of places on this lap, then runs out wide through the exit of the Snake section. But back out in front, we have Zerke leading by 2.3 seconds. Slick wanting to be the man that runs directly behind Zerke, and he can do that on this lap. Zerke publishing the quickest lap of the race so far, a 1:18.836. But as DRS is enabled, it won't be enabled Slick on this occasion, but he is most certainly closing in on the Williams ahead. Coming out of the pits then, that seems to be, goodness me, who is that? Oh no, that's Lehrman James defending from Slick. I thought it was a lap car, because Slick had so much more grip and so much more confidence, and he takes 2nd place on younger tyres and with so much more confidence. It is Slick who is now running right behind Zerke, well, on the leaderboard. In reality, he runs 3.5 seconds behind him, but Lehrman James really starting to struggle on these hard compound tyres, and Gupta sensing an opportunity to immediately pass him. And Gupta will want to pass him because he has Lucas and Tessa both behind him, and the McLaren driver does not want to be caught up in any kind of incident here. Going through the Forest now, riding on board with the McLaren, who is just trying to carve out his opportunity through the Peraltada, putting down the power, and he will smirk at the chance of trying to take the place from the Williams driver. What terrific straight line speed he has. Lehrman James trying to keep Gupta at bay, but is he going to be able to? Because Gupta now choosing the outside line into turn 1. He brakes that little bit later, and Lehrman James, try as he might, just does not have the response, and then getting caught over the curves is Lucas then battling away with Tessa. Those two now running side by side, and it's Tessa that takes the place from Lucas, but journeying into turn 4, journeying to the inside goes the Ferrari, and it's another bold overtake there from Lucas, who is investing his race in so many battles, and in this one he betters the Merc of Tessa and keeps hold of 5th place. Right on board with him once more as he looks to pass Lehrman James. He probably isn't going to be able to do it until the stadium section. Is he going to chance to move down the inside? No, he is not, and Tessa is waiting in the wings. Hydrants and Burton now running in formation. It's Junior versus Senior, AlphaTauri versus Red Bull. Who's going to seize the upper hand through the Peraltada? It seems like the AlphaTauri may just be easy picking, but here comes Lucas now with a decent slipstream on Lehrman James, always entering yellow flag section, but to hell with it, down the inside for the Ferrari, and he does take that place from the Williams driver. It's now the turn of Tessa to try and impose herself on the Williams driver. The exit of turn 4 is not a particularly healthy one there for the Merc. She's going to have to try and make a move down the inside, but she's not close enough. Oh, dumbest basket! Passing both Burton and Hydrant and Tablet Storm in a brief moment, and now we have Tablet Storm and Burton going side by side, the AlphaTauri to the outside. There's a 4-car battle, and it's one that Dumbest Basket heads for the moment, as Tessa now we ride on board with her, trying to pass Lehrman James, but is just not able to do it, to put it off just yet. But this is the battle to keep an eye on. Dumbest Basket ahead of Tablet Storm, ahead of Burton, ahead of Hydrant. The final 4 points paying positions, 7th down to 10th. It could get really, really spicy down the long start-finish straight with DRS in action. Let's see what can be made of this then. Tablet Storm having DRS on the Alpine ahead. Look how much he is closing in on the Alpine. Is he going to be able to close in enough though to make an impression going into turn 1? Not quite. But there will be another DRS zone awaiting the McLaren driver. It comes about in just a second. He opens DRS, gets into the slipstream of the Alpine, racing towards turn 4. And he's just not able to carve out an overtake, but showing his confidence through each and every apex, searching for the inside line going into turn 6 and 7 and drawing level pegging them with the Alpine. The battle continues on towards the snake section. Around the outside goes the McLaren. They make contact with one another once and almost twice as the Alpine remains ahead, but what an exit it is for the McLaren, and down this brief DRS straight into the inside line, surely into the Foro Sol. No, he's going to have to slot in behind his Hydrant around the outside of Burton. It is Senior versus Junior. It's Senior who looks to hold the upper hand, but for how long? Because Burton is responding and gets all out of shape, colliding with the curb and Hydrant through the Foro Sol. But then Hydrant's really struggling through the Peraltada. Burton will say thank you very much and draw side by side with the Red Bull. Both will have DRS. It's going to be a drag race towards turn 1. Hydrant then slots in behind. Is it the inside line or the outside line for Hydrant? It's going to be the inside line. He chances the move, and the AlphaTauri just about maintaining track position, but the exit off of turn 3 is a mesmeric one for Hydrant. Once more they're going to battle it out. It's a battle between 2 drivers with DRS as Tablet Storm makes a move on Dumbest Basket, but is not able to make it stick. Can Hydrant make the move on Burton's stick? He has to run off the road. He'll rejoin side by side with the AlphaTauri, and around the outside once more they make contact with one another. Brushing with brutality here in Mexico City are Burton and Hydrant, who are going at it, absolutely at it, and the battle continues on. They're losing sync with Tablet Storm and Dumbest Basket ahead. The McLaren trying to pass the Alpine. Hydrant though down the inside of Burton, and they do make contact with one another, and it's Hydrant that loses out. They were brushing with brutality. They've encountered it now, and it's Hydrant that is damaged his race chances and drops down into 10th place behind Axel as well. But Tablet Storm then, is he finally able to make a move on Dumbest Basket down this long start-finish straight? With DRS in use, the Alpine is not going to defend to the inside of turn 1, but he carries the minimum speed in and remains ahead of the McLaren. The battle continues on then to another straight, to another chapter, and with the McLaren finally seemingly getting a good enough exit to make a move, but the Alpine with terrific straight line speed remaining ahead into turn 4. The McLaren around the outside. This is where Bottas and Raikkonen collided in 2015. These two make it through side by side and cleanly. the McLaren to the inside once more, but gets all out of shape and then collide. The Alpine sent into the wall, losing his front wing. Tablet Storm continues on, and the safety car for the second time in this race is deployed. These battles are reaching boiling point, as Dumbest Basket and Tablet Storm just proved. And we are into our second safety car spell here in Mexico City. So Zerke making a stop, switching to the mediums. Is that the softs for Slick? We'll have to see. No, it's the mediums. Gupta seems like he has switched to the mediums as well. It's not going to be a race to the end on the softs for these drivers, as Tessa switching to the hards. Okay, does she not have, seemingly she does not have any sets of mediums left, which would be very much to the detriment of her. But Akerdra and Learman James in formation, coming out on track ahead of Burton and ahead of Hydrant. See, is anyone able to switch to the softs? Doesn't seem so right now. It's just too long in the race to go to pit to the soft tyres for a sprint to the end. But the second safety car period brought out due to Tablet Storm and Dumbest Basket colliding with one another. It was such a terrific battle, but it's ended in dismay. Lap 22 of 36. So then, I'm probably quickly going to have to get a drink because my throat is on the verge of dying. But ensure that you're here for when the final chapter of this Mexico City Grand Prix really starts to get going. It's been one hell of a ride so far, and it's a ride to the end. So Zerke remains in the lead, and his lead is comforted by the fact that Slick and Gupta behind have time penalties to be served. It's looking good. It is looking oh so good for the Haas driver who has led the majority of this race, who was perhaps denied pole position by traffic on his fastest lap. Slick was able to beat him just at the very end. And for Slick, who has had 3 pole positions so far this season, still awaiting his second victory of the season. The championship leader has, well, got to look over his shoulder because Zerke is really starting to emerge. And in a very late call, the safety car is going to be called in at the conclusion of this lap. So the top 2 are going to be nose to tail down the start-finish straight. You can see that Slick holding back is going to give the Haas a real advantage going down the start-finish straight, but he's really going to close in down this long start-finish straight. The slipstream in use. This is his chance. This is his only chance to steal back the bracelet that Gupta is getting involved with as well. He's going to run side by side with Slick. He's going to search for that inside line going into turn 1. The 3-time champion imposing himself in the battle between the top 2 of last season, and it's the runner-up from last season who has the upper hand. Zerky then is able to race away with Slick still in second, with Gupta still in third. Lucas still remains fourth, so it is as you were between the top four. Tessa maintaining fifth place on those hard compound tyres. Seems pretty much as you were between the lot of them, but Zerky extending that margin to 1 second. He's instantly breaking clear of DRS threat. He wants by the third lap of green flag racing to be over a second clear of Slick. He knows that as much as the Aston Martin does have a time penalty to be served, he wants a clean run to the end of the race, and he's doing just that right now. Two Alpha Tauris, 7th and 8th. Burton ahead of Snakes, and Snakes, who was leading, remember, early on in this race, who led from lap 1 to about lap 5 or 6, is now in battle with his teammate Lucas, though, closing in on Gupta. Down the start, finish straight, but it's not close enough. Remember, no DRS on this lap, so it's going to be a little bit more tricky for the drivers to make an overtake on one another, despite the high downforce levels, which does theoretically mean that passing down the start from the straight should be easier with the slipstream and then eventually DRS being more powerful. But with the nature of this track being high altitude, meaning the temperatures rise to unbelievable heights, overtaking is a bit more tricky than anticipated, and Snakes trying to show himself, trying to assert his presence in the mirrors of Burton, but is not able to do that just yet. Lap 25 then of 36, and Zerky is very much in the ascendancy as Gupta running wide. He holds on to P3, but it may be a dangling advantage for the McLaren over the Ferrari. McLaren then versus Ferrari, a fabled battle stretching back years. Think of Hunt versus Lauda, Senna versus Prost, Hamilton and Alonso versus Raikkonen, Hamilton versus Massa. It's a story, it's a chapter, decades in consumption, and it is alive here in Mexico City. Snakes still trying to close in on Burton. DRS is enabled but not down this straight. It won't be until the end of the second sector where we will see DRS in action once more. But Snakes wanting to get on with it and pass his teammates, and what a beautiful opportunity he has going into turn 4. He pulls to the inside, he brakes impossibly late. Burton trying to respond around the outside, trying to cause the undercut on her teammate. But it is Snakes who seizes the advantage between the two Alpha Tauris and is up into 7th place. So DRS will finally be in action. Let's see how close Lucas can get to Gupta. He is provisionally second as Lucas with the time penalties being applied, but he will want to take those positions on track. Gupta may just get DRS on Slick as well down the start, finish straight, but Zerky eking out a gap of 3 seconds. He has his foot on the throat of Slick's title advantage. He is really coming alive in this championship. 2 races, possibly 2 wins for the Haas driver. Snakes, though, who is also in his second race in Formula Premier, trying to make a move on the Williams ahead through second and third corner. He wants a good exit. He gets one. The pair of them will have DRS, but the Alpha Tauri with another wondrous exit will close in on the Williams going into turn 4, breaks to the inside, and the Williams always forced off-road and has to acquiesce the place to Snakes, who look right now is on a charge. Seems like Lucas now has dropped to, well, now 1.7 seconds behind Gupta, so that battle provisionally is currently, don't want to say dull, but it is currently off. But we now have then a quarter of this race to go. 9 laps left of this Mexico City Grand Prix, and it really starts to feel like Zerky is imposing himself. This glittering presence is really coming alive. A quake of brilliance here in the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. He wants to sustain it for championship hope. Snakes then closing in on Tessa. He's made 2 passes in the last 2 laps. And make it a third in as many through the exit of the third corner. On Tessa, tapping the wall, putting down the power, and what had been such a valiant effort turns into dismay. So Snakes then up into 5th place. He could actually close in on Lucas because he is showing such sublime speed. Gupta is also closing in on Slick, but loses the rear end slightly, going through the Snake section, which almost saw him spinning off track. But Gupta, who is on for a 2nd podium of the season, now a 3-time defending champion, has been up against it so far this season, but he's starting to gather consistency in which a champion is defined by. Whether he comes away with a 4th consecutive championship this season, well, the odds are slightly stacked against him. But with the new wheel that he has, he is gathering momentum, consistency, and rediscovering the quality we know he so very much has. Tessa now having a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It just does not get any easier for the Merc. So in the battle for the wooden spoon, Axel and Hydrant, both who have shown such great qualifying performances so far this season, are battling it out on track for what will now be 12th and 13th places. Tessa, having made her pit stop, will rejoin behind these 2. Hydrant though, closing in enough perhaps to make a move going into turn 1. He thinks about it, and he sticks his nose down the inside, but he can't make a move out of it. What about off the exit of turn 3? The Alfa Romeo showing great traction and powering away from the Red Bull, and Hydrant just had to contend with the sight of that rear wing ahead of him. Flags once more out on track. It's Axel who has spun round and now drops behind Hydrant. Then closing in on Leoman James. Down, start-finish straight. Lap 30 of 36. Williams versus AlphaTauri then. The AlphaTauri having DRS and closing in through every passing metre to the outside. Oh, Burton thought about it and almost collided there with the Williams for tons of braking. The Williams just about maintaining his car and his position off the exit of turn 4. The AlphaTauri closing in once more. Actually make an impression going into turn 4, not quite. And we'll have to stick behind the rear wing of that Williams through the Snake section. Oh, goodness, Burton finding the wall. Through the S's, merely tapping the wall, but dropping a place behind Dumbest Basket. It could have been so much worse there for the AlphaTauri, but she manages to keep herself in this race and earns herself a time penalty for track limit violations, which has really caught the drivers out today. But we start lap 31 of 36, still with Zerke in the lead, Slick in 2nd and Gupta in 3rd. But it seems like Lucas is the man to inherit 2nd place when Slick and Gupta serve their time penalties. So as long as the Ferrari man keeps it on track and keeps it within the track, then he will be on for not just the podium place, but possibly 2nd place in this race, which would eat into the deficit he held to Slick going into this race. It started at 6, it would then possibly remain at 6 because Slick winning 3 points for pole position. But Lucas once again showing a brilliant race pace. But early race shenanigans, not really being able to show his speed in the traffic early on in this race has cost him a lot of time early on in this race. Has made some beautiful passes. but he is having to settle with P4 on the road for the moment. That could, though, turn into second place by the checkered flag. 5 to go then here at the Mexico City Grand Prix. Zerke looks imperious, just imperious, as he did last week at the Circuit of the Americas. Slick settling for P2 at the moment. It could get a little bit worse for him. Well, it could get a lot worse for him, but let's not go into the commentator's curse on that one. But no real battles out on track at the moment. The closest there is between two cars is a second for 9th and 10th, but Ports is ghosted, so that battle is rather redundant. Let's ride on board with him. We haven't really seen much of him this race, just by the fact that he is powered away from the opposition. Comes through the Forosol for the 32nd time. And will start his 33rd lap. In the lead, and out in the lead by a distance. Slick is Zerke's closest challenger, but by the checkered flag it could be Lucas inheriting that second place, and it's just been a race of frustration for Slick. He earned the time penalty so early on, and that is, you would think, affected him in terms of trying to avoid another time penalty. In fact, he probably could be on his last warning for another time penalty, which would really deal him a hammer blow. But he surely will be on for a podium. But which step of the podium will it be? In the dying stages of this Mexico City Grand Prix, Zerke is just maintaining a gap of about 6 seconds. Denied pole position by less than 1/10 of a second. It could have been the margins that cost the Haas driver, but it was a great start off the line to take the lead going into turn 1. He then lost the lead to Snakes by the conclusion of the first lap, but after the AlphaTauri spun out, Zerke has just been in the groove. 3 more to go then. Snakes now closing in on Lucas, and Lucas does not want this. He does not want this. And now it seems like he is 3 seconds behind Slick. So Slick would at the moment maintain second place, and Gupta will want Snakes to get involved in battle with Lucas, so that costs the Ferrari man time and grants Gupta a podium. So in the final 3 laps of this race, Lucas's endeavours of a podium place may just be quashing. Right on board with the AlphaTauri, who is just showing greater speed and confidence. You can see that the Ferrari through the exit of turn 5 struggling. He's falling into the clutches of Snakes, and he's losing precious time to Gupta. And a chance of a podium may just be vanishing from the Ferrari man. But then Gupta goes and earns himself yet another time penalty. Oh my, so Gupta then hands back. He hands back the initiative to Lucas in the battle for 3rd place. But Lucas, well, as well as Snakes, he could be in the battle for a podium place as well. It's all coming alive in the final couple of laps here at the Mexico City Grand Prix. Here is Snakes trying to take a place on Lucas, weaving from left to right, while he tries to make himself visible in the Ferrari man's mirrors. But Snakes takes the place with absolute ease going into turn 1, and the Ferrari man, who was hoping and expecting a podium place, well, the nerves really are starting to kick in on lap 35 of 36. At the moment, he is on for 3rd place. He has to keep his head. He has to keep his car on the road, or he is suffering late race heartbreaking. I think that's Burton, who has collided with a Curdray, the Alpine. through turn one, stops on the track, reverses. As then Lucas as well has a time penalty. Oh my! Oh my! And now he's in real trouble, is Lucas. He's in real trouble. Because Snakes has a time penalty as well, but it's the same amount as Lucas, so Lucas really could be off the podium. We enter the final lap then of this Mexico City Grand Prix, and Lucas has to make his move if he wants to stand on the podium come the end of this race. Just a few kilometres to go as we wrap up what has been one hectic race, and Lucas is just not closing in enough on the AlphaTauri going into turn one. That time penalty could cost him, and cost him dear. Yellow flag through the first sector, that's the Mercedes of Tessa as Lucas getting a right swapper off of the exits of turn 3, which has cost him a chance to make an impression on Snakes going into turn 4. It's a chance that came, and it's a chance that may have possibly went for the Ferrari man in the dying stages of this Mexico City Grand Prix. It's been a tremendous comeback from Snakes though, who was last at one point after leading in the early stages. He's going to come back for a podium place. But out in front, entering the Forosol for the final time, it has been a quake of brilliance from Zerky. As he rounds the Peraltada, the final corner, a poignant shade of white starts to burn bright in Formula Premiere. It is Zerky's second consecutive race who will stand on the top step of the podium. It's Slick second, it's Gupta third because Snake has a 5-second time penalty for not serving his penalty. So Lucas, who then would have thought he'd inherit third place, was a tenth of a second away from Gupta in the end once the time penalties are applied. So it's Zerky, Slick and Gupta on the podium. There's Dummy's Basket through the final corner. He's going to lose 7th place then to the Williams and possibly to Porsche as well. The Mercedes is going to pass him. Fabulous Storm will come close, but not close enough. Hydrant will take that 10th place though as Tablet Storm serves the time penalty. Axel will come home 12th on the road ahead of Akerdre and Tessa. But for the Haas, it's another race win, and this one was even more dominant. His career in Formula Premiere may just be 2 races young, but it has experience and triumph, and he is really starting to emerge as a true title contender. It's back-to-back wins, our first repeat winner of the season here in Formula Premiere, and this Haas driver is a force of nature. So there he is, the Haas driver, once again winning. Spraying the champagne. It's not even champagne anymore, is it? Unbelievable. But let's call it champagne. Spraying the bubbly stuff on the podium. Alongside the top 2 from last season's championship. And you can see there, Zerky winning for the second time this season. He started from the front row and he converted it into race victory. Slick has to contend with second place, finishing 9 seconds behind Zerky in the end. Gupta coming home third ahead of Lucas Snakes, Leitman James, Port Burton, Dummest Basket and Hydrant. Well then, what a race that was. It may have fizzed out by the conclusion, but we had some awesome plot lines along the way. It's Zerky for the second time this season who takes victory, and my oh my, he is a name that is being thrown into the hat for championship contention. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you join us next week for when Formula Premiere returns, as it returns to Sao Paulo. Oh yes, that'll be a good one. That will be an awesome race. So make sure you join us for it. But For all of you watching, thank you so very much for your company. And until next time, goodbye.